You went to the grocery store and bought a $10 roast. $6 went to the animal. So the rancher's share of a $10 roast was $6. Well, that went to $3. It got down to half. So the farmers and ranchers were getting 30% of the beef dollar for spending 3 years to produce it.
Yeah.
From cow meets bull to here is an animal to harvest. Call that 3 years. The industry takes that product, and in a 21-day cycle, they make 60-70% of the grocery dollar.
Yeah.
And that happened. So that all happened because of the integration of the big beef packers, integration of the grocery stores. So everything got bigger. Everything from the packers we suspended the Packers and Feeders Act in 1980, and that allowed the packers to go from 38% market share amongst the big four to 80% market share in 3 years. And now we're where we've been. 85% market
it's like
share.
A monopoly.
According to the antitrust laws that are on the books but not being enforced, it is a monopoly. According to the Packers and Stockyards Packers and Feeders Act, it is a monopoly. So we've been waiting for someone to come along and rip the Band-Aid off of this. We hear, well, we need these guys. We need them. We do need a place to harvest cattle, and we need to get them through. It's the business practices. So even in the industry, even in the cattle ranching, you'll hear a lot of division. You'll hear one side of the ranching go, these packers, they're basically just like a public service. I mean, they're our buddies. They make no money, and they will paint a case of how they make very little money per animal. So the problem is with that storyline it's the old Paul Harvey line, the rest of the story. Well, if they make no money and the ranchers are getting 35 cents of the beef dollar, who's making all the money? Well, they'll tell you they're making very little money on the beef packing, but they only report cash sales. But they don't report what they make on their distribution division and their transportation division. They control all of that. So you can't just go have your cattle harvested at one of these big beef plants. They have to go through their warehouse system, through their distribution network, and in many times they control even the trucks hauling away. So they're going to get all of those pieces of the dollar. So they create this scenario where they forward contract about 90% of the cattle through AMAs, agricultural marketing agreements, but they only have to report that 10%. They also forward contract and sell about 90% of the meat. So they are required to report to USDA, and you can go look up USDA car lot reports published every day at 5 p.m. Eastern and Friday for the week. You can go look that up, USDA car lot report. And there's some truth there. There's how many cattle they harvested, and there's some truth to what those meat products are selling for, but it's only a little bit of truth. What they say, what's more dangerous, a broken clock or a clock that's off by 30 minutes?
Yeah.
The clock that's off by 30 minutes is more deceiving.
So the math here is 33% for the farmer. The grocer doesn't get much, does he?
Well, that is a great point. In the past, back in the 80s, the grocery store model was they would make about 30% gross margin. So if they sold a $10 roast, there's about $3 of profit in there. Okay. Stuff Mart out of Bentonville, Arkansas, they changed the grocery game, and they really started, they're called exterior products. You're like, what does that mean? Exterior products are things that touch the exterior walls of a grocery store. There's very little or no margin in those grocery items. From the late 80s through the 90s current. So if you walk into a grocery store, my wife walks into a grocery store because that's who buys 85% of the groceries. Their paradigm of the value proposition of this store is based on chicken breast, ground beef, a few key items, head of lettuce, apples, exterior products, a gallon of milk, a block of cheese, sliced cheese. So the grocery stores, they take very low margins or loss leaders on those products, so that you will then buy other products at higher margins. So it's it's a game. Most of the profit in a grocery store can be seen from the checkout aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at the checkout aisle, do a 360. Cold drinks, chewing gum, magazines, end caps. That's most of the profit. If you literally only bought things off the outside walls of a grocery store, they would close.
Really?
They would not be able to stay in business. Grocery stores run about a 1 to maybe 2% net profit. Super high volume, right? Low margin. So if they're not the problem, where's the problem? We can all agree that there's this huge percentage of the grocery beef dollar going somewhere. Where's it going? So if it's not the Packers, where is it? Well, it's between the cattle producer and the consumer, and it's all along the way. Now there are ground beef has been a focus point this year where retailers are pushing pretty good margins. They're taking advantage of this news cycle, and they're going, oh yeah, beef prices are high, so they are pushing quite a bit of margin into ground beef. It's one of the things I've heard from the people trying to defend themselves in the industry is upset with retailers having way higher than normal margins on ground beef. It's bad. Now, the good news is the number just came out. As of August, we're north of 50%. We're north of 50% of the beef dollar going to the animal. And I will tell you, we can live there. The American farmers and ranchers can produce cattle at the price we're getting paid for today. And I say we're willing to take 55%. We can't do 30%. But if we can have 55% of the grocery dollar, which is still probably not fair, we can live there. The silver lining to this dark cloud is the American consumer has continued to buy beef at these prices. So that's been a great sign.